Hi guys, we're live, Rodney. We're live. I've never done this before. I'm excited. Rodney,
Yes, yes. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How have you been?
Yeah, not. Listen, it's been a busy week. I've been busy generally doing bits and bobs, generally with work as well. But yeah, it's not been too bad, and I feel I'm over my man flu, so I'm able to speak
Yeah,
freely. It's
good.
good.
You
Yeah,
able
yeah.
to play some games now? Brum is a new game. Brum is a new game.
Let me get my pen and
Yeah.
pencil in 2020.
Okay. Okay. Well, tell a lie. I'm gonna do a bit of you, Rodney.
Yeah,
Me and Dave, we're watching, obviously, we're going to watch the girls, but we're going to go watch Sheffield as well. So it might be tight, let's say. So we're definitely going down to Sheffield for the second half.
yeah.
Uh, you know, obviously watching ours, so we might have to watch two halves, miss a few, miss a bits.
You won't
But
miss. You will not miss half of a game. You won't.
I'm going to miss half a game, mate. I'm going to miss half a game. But no, listen, the reason I'm doing this, hopefully some people join because I've put it out on Twitter as well, even to see
Yeah,
after. I don't care.
yeah,
I want to talk about where we are and what we're doing. And I know I heard you and Matt talking,
yeah,
and we got a bit carried away. But for me, listen, last year she was harsh on them, and last year, when I say she, I mean Casey. I was
yeah,
speaking to a lot of the girls, and it was, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to get to the final, we're going to do this. So for me, I think coming into this league, WSL, and hoping and getting fourth,
yeah,
that was like I say, between fourth and sixth. That's what our aim was.
yeah. Well, I mean, I remember we had a really big conversation about this at the beginning in terms of where we thought the league would be, in terms of how difficult it would be.
Mm.
We assumed that the levels that the team were going to face were going to be at least two or three jumps up. I would say that hasn't been the case,
No, not at
and
all.
not at all. But what I would say, and I mentioned this when I spoke to Matt, is that following a World Cup campaign,
Mm.
you will always see a dip in performance from the
Yeah,
teams that are normally at the top and flying away. So when you think about the England campaign and the other players that are in the WSL that played for like Holland and France and Germany, etc., and Finland, and you've got to understand that those players have had a very long season, and being away from their family and everything like that, it has a knock-on effect. So I'm not surprised in terms of the Manchester United women doing so well, but I am surprised in terms of the level
yeah,
that I would say that it was not as high as I thought it would be. But as I say, the circumstances for that are a very good
yeah,
and a very entertaining World Cup, which you obviously were fortunate enough to
yeah.
go to.
Will's in the comments. Hi, Will. Tell us what unknown Will's is called. Tell us what you think. Keep watching. But no, Rodney, I agree with you. But it's not been. I expect the top three to go ahead and do what they've done. Maybe Man
Yeah,
City have been that had that sort of hang up from the World Cup, but the top two at least have been that standard. Maybe that what I've expected. But I'm more talking about the rest of the teams. Your Brightons, your Everton's that we've played, Reading, who we really did struggle against, and I
yeah,
thought that was going to be the level. And I think when we did play, even Spurs, when we did play that Reading game, it wasn't, what the Reading that I remember facing. It was a lot, and maybe we'd figured them out, but it was a lot more calmer. There was still times, but
yeah.
I even know West Ham were good. You know, these other teams were the ones that I thought were going to show us levels, and to be honest, they haven't. I knew City and all them would be above us, but it was the ones around us that I thought that I've been disappointed by.
Yeah, I do. Do you know what? I would also say to that. I understand where you're going in terms of we're disappointed in terms of the levels that we've seen from those teams,
Mm.
but this is where you actually tip your hat to Casey,
Yeah.
in terms of the prep that she would have made sure that the girls went through. Do you understand? You have to think because we as fans will look at it and say the level is just too much. They were really going to struggle. I mean,
because a lot of these girls are championship girls. Remember that, or they've not played.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got a team that's willing to run and chase and harry, as well as play good football, defensively stable, good in attack, scored plenty of goals last year. Not necessarily the same this year because obviously defenses are a little bit more savvy. There's not that much space. There's not that much time on the ball. But in terms of the gap that we thought there would be and the actual gap that there is, you have to say that it's down to Casey's kind of prep with the girls and the kind of information that they've been given and the application. And it comes down to the players as well in terms of what they have actually taken on board from the manager. So, Casey's done her bit. The players then take on everything and kind of implement that. But what I was trying to get across to Matt, and I think he probably didn't. I don't know, say he didn't understand. Like for me, because I saw a number of things on Twitter which was kind of made me kind of chuckle. When I watched the Arsenal game against Bristol, and I know a certain player down there, I was slightly embarrassed in watching that game in the sense that when you cross the line, doesn't matter whether you're male or female and you're playing football, there was a level of pride that you have. It looked like a testimonial game.
Yeah.
There was no intensity from Bristol. There was no pressure. There weren't closing players down in the midfield. I'm telling you now, if you swap the manager.
How did my own look? How did she look? Did she play?
She played.
And what did she look like?
She looked isolated in a team that looked.
That's what I was worried about.
She looked isolated up top in a team that looked like they didn't know what they were doing. They almost.
They've lost a lot of players though.
Well, they've lost players, but you give a team like Arsenal too much respect and they will bury you. And the difference is that United women, when Arsenal turned up at the LSV, there was no respect given. They played the game, not the occasion. And you have to be like that in this league, regardless of who the opposition is. And I think Bristol, to be honest, what was really disappointing is that you get beat like that at your home ground. Away from your I can get.
No, it was at Arsenal. It was at Arsenal.
Was it Arsenal? Okay, right. Yeah, I was going to say, because I was thinking to myself, that's their home ground.
Imagine, you see, that wouldn't happen. You see, that would not happen with Casey. She would not allow that, and that's what I do think. Will is part of the last name, but he said, do you think FAWSL is going to draw even more people now with the 3 Champions League places? For me, I can see that spot being ours. And whether that's cocky, whether that's arrogant, you see, this is what a lot of West Ham had an issue with us.
Yeah.
Coming and saying, this is what we're going to do. We're going to win. But we were going into that game thinking we are going to win. And we had beaten them before. And this is what really annoyed me about that game. The mentality. I've been talking today on the radio about the men's mentality. How come they can go and play so well against Spurs, but then they play Villa or they play whoever else, and they play and Sheffield and they play so poorly? Is it the mentality? And I think I don't want to say it because I think their mentality is strong with the girls, but there's something about when someone brings them back level, they don't know what to do. This is the second time it's happened.
Sometimes you only learn when you lose. You can be on top. You can be on top and everything be great and you have no challenge and you have an air of confidence. But when there is a certain element of struggle and you start to look around and think, who's going to step up? Who's going to take a decision? Who's going to be the leader in this team and actually say, you know what, we need to do this now. We need to be a little bit smarter here and there. That comes with time together. That comes with, an understanding of what your players around you will do. And you have to look at when I spoke to Matt, losing the way that the girls did against West Ham, not necessarily a bad thing because the goal was scored literally in the dying moments. The scoreline in itself said it was a really tough game. Probably elements of, where there was a lack of concentration from both teams, and they scored goals and they came back. Unusually to see balls come across the box and not be dealt with by anyone in the middle of the defense, but it happens. They have their off days, and you would expect any team to learn from that. The issue in terms of the Champions League places, you know, I mean, that doesn't even come in until, it's not even next season, it's the season after, I think. Yeah, so there's some time for that.
People are going to be fighting, and I think Will's just said more players. I think more players are going to want to come. I think now with Sam Kerr, this is the league to be in. Miedema, Sam Kerr, I think top people are going to want to come in and
I
Sam
saw
Kerr voted #1, so of course you want to play against her or with her.
I saw your little Twitter conversation with about Sam Kerr and Miedema, which, you know, the comparison to Messi and Ronaldo. I think they're obviously, you know, in women's football at the top of their game, but they're miles apart in terms of. I mean, obviously, Kerr is as a seasoned goal scorer, and Miedema is a very good goal scorer, but just slightly different in the you know. So in the comparison,
different players, but they can score goals.
They can score goals.
And I think throw Ellen White in there as well.
Well, definitely Ellen White. You know, definitely Ellen White's a goal scorer. She's proved that as a, you know, as an international level that she's a goal scorer. She has a very good knack of picking up space between centre backs where they don't expect her to be. So in essence, what's really important in terms of the Champions League places, it's about, they've notified the league, this is what we're going to do in a couple of seasons' time. Get your business in order. So
and if I was United, I know these girls, and I know Casey, that's what she's going for. I want to win the Champions League. She was saying it last year in the Championship. So you can't be saying in the Championship I want to win the Champions League, and then that 3 places comes along. You need to be going for it.
Yeah, I believe that she obviously. I mean, who doesn't want to win the Champions League? Any player that wants to play football wants to get to the level, wants to get to that competition, and it's a very difficult competition to win. The difficulty with that is when there have been so many highlighted issues about the financial discrepancies or the financial gap between certain clubs not being able to finance. You've got Liverpool, who have lost so many players, and you know, there's issues financially there because they're not being backed by the main club. You know, you've got, you know, there are so many issues. What will that mean for the WSL? What will it mean for the Championship? Are the 2 clubs, in terms of the branches, the women's and the men's, are they going to be much closer in terms of, you know, the finances? Will they get more sponsorship? How are they going to pay? All of those things. Yeah. All of those.
In terms, though, Rodney, you just mentioned there the Championship. What does it mean for the WSL? If you actually do look at Liverpool and towards the bottom, maybe even bring in Bristol, Birmingham, but then look at towards the top of the Championship, your Villa, your Sheffield, your Durham, maybe even the City Lioness, bring them in. I think that's that could be a league in its own. Because I think we've seen Villa beat Liverpool, we've seen Sheffield beat Liverpool, we've seen Sheffield and Villa going against each other. You know, Durham are due to play Liverpool. That'll be very interesting. But then you've also seen Durham get beat by Blackburn, who are at the bottom of that league. You've seen Sheffield struggled against Charlton, who are at the bottom. So I think the Championship is very competitive, and you'll always see different teams beating different teams. And really, in the WSL, West Ham beating us, and I know we're just newly promoted, so this is what gets people's backs up. But, you know, we were 4th and West Ham were towards the bottom. So, in a way, you can say that's a bit of that. Sure, West Ham will then go, oh, we're going to be this top of the table. Great. But if you look at it where it is now, that was a shock result. So there are little shock results popping up. You know, Brighton getting a point at Chelsea. Yeah, they're just one-off games. These games are what's, to be fair, Brighton beat Arsenal in the Conti Cup. So, I think Chelsea City are going to throw more money at it to confirm that they're going to get those top 3. I hope we're in that mix with throwing money and getting top, you know, because at the same time, the way what she said, Emma, scrap that thing and let the rest pull them up. And I think that Championship, we came into it and we went full time. Now you're seeing 2 or 3 going in full time, and I think it has helped.
Well, you have to look at the women's game in terms of the difference between teams that are part time, full time, and what that means in terms of the amount of time they have to prepare, the strain that there is in terms of having a full-time job or a part-time job to balance out what you're doing. The WSL Championship, in terms of those teams, there is a discrepancy So I can understand why you will think Casey wants to be in the Champions League and the club's going to be there, and you know, you guys are going to go on your busman's holiday to Europe and get in a minivan and
plane,
you know,
plane with me.
Yeah, but you know, there are so many things that need to be considered before you even get to that point. The strength of the team definitely needs to be to get into the Champions League and to be a serious contender within that competition. For me, apart from having a very good squad, which Manchester United women do under KC, they have a very good midfield, which I believe they do. You need a dedicated goal scorer.
Yeah.
You know, Sam Kerr, tick. Miedemeier, tick.
Yeah.
You're looking at everyone. All right, Chloe Kelly at Everton. She's on 4 or 5.
Scoring the goal.
Yeah, she's on score. But everyone else is
scoring the goals.
Yeah, everyone else has scored 3 goals.
Striker.
Yeah, no,
guys, ready for fireworks. Always, always ready for fireworks.
She's ready for fireworks.
Living a beautiful life. Love it.
I'm not going to be there on Sunday again, but I'm going to be again.
Listen, I agree with what you're saying, Rodney, about we need a dedicated goal scorer.
We do need a goal scorer.
And I think, like what you just said, you just listed the names of the top 3, and like you can step out of those 3 and even step back and say, well, they got Pauline. Is her name Bremer? The other one of them that's been scoring, Tessa Walnut. Chelsea have got loads.
Chelsea have got goals all across their team.
Batchman, and an Arsenal. Not Meadow just signed a new deal. She can play up top, and I'm sure there's more. Sorry, I don't know all this whole squad.
Yeah.
We've got Jess and Jane. And LJ, to be fair to her, has stepped up and is scoring the goals like Chloe Kelly is, but she's not a number 9. Jess and Jane are the number 9s for us.
Well, you know what I think about Jess anyway.
But let me just say, Jess had 2 games as number 9. She scored in both of them. I can see why Casey brought in Jane, because she wanted someone who's WSL experience to help Jess. And, fair enough. I'm sure Jess said, great, bring on that competition. But for me now, we need to see Jess down the middle, because I think Jane's had a lot of chances. She had the derby, she had the Arsenal, and she came back for Spurs. She came on up front, then she's come on up front. The Leicester game, she got a goal, fair play to her. But then she came off. LJ came on, where she's been banging and got that goal.
Yeah.
But LJ's only going to do so much, and that ref had it in for her anyway. I want to see Jess down the middle, but I can see why Casey maybe. I don't know, because Jess is a championship. Jess has come from Donny. This is the 2nd season of her being full time. But I think it's time versus Everton to play Jess. Long term, I think you're looking at harder. That's the. You've got to say it though, because that's the levels. And if you want to be in the sport, that's where you've got to be. But I think Jess definitely, she can play all across the front. But I think Everton, I want to see her there because she hustled front. Go on, tell us your opinion. Tell us what.
To be honest, I've always said, watching Jess do her thing on the wing, great. So much endeavour, so much heart. But that she's going to score goals in the middle. She's going to be a real pain in the arse. Excuse my language.
No, but it's true.
For those centre backs.
Yeah.
And she'll sniff off chances and she'll score goals. And I get that to accommodate the players that Casey has right now, she has to play a particular system, and some players they're not even getting a sniff in terms of they're getting their boots dirty on game day. But considering all the goals that Jess scored in the previous year, in the previous season, likewise with Molly, likewise with Lauren, likewise with Katie, it's been clear that when you look at the goals, even though Manchester United have scored the number of goals in terms of getting into the top, when you're talking about top 3, the top 3 as it stands now is Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea. Yeah, that's where it is. To the gap between those 3 and Manchester United women is probably about 8 points. I think they're on 21 and they're on 12. 8 points, 9 points. So it's it's really important that you that's an area that needs to either be addressed in terms of you bring someone else in, or you look in-house and think, right, who can score goals? We need to actually work on this, because there's, as long as there are games coming thick and fast in terms of the competitions and the Conti Cup, you know, when you start to look at the league table, if you don't, and I've had this with the men's game, I'm not interested in what goals you score in the cup. Couldn't give a toss. If you're not scoring in the league, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't mean anything. The league means everything. So if you score goals in the league and your team goes up in terms of position, that's great. You can score, and this is no slur on those that played in that cup game. 11 goals in the cup doesn't mean anything. You can get knocked out in the next round. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. We're on a team in the league who's scoring the goals in the league. That's the only thing that matters. And if you and others are thinking, oh yeah, we're going to be in the Champions League, if you don't have a goal scorer, you're toast.
I mean, you mentioned a few things there, Rodney, about the people who are maybe, like you say, gathering dust instead of gathering mud.
Wow.
And I think the league games for them are what they need to be proving. And if they're playing, I mean, I get it. Like, you don't want to be playing with the devs. No one does. But if you are playing with the devs, that's when you need to be banging them in to be proving. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
You're playing with the devs, and it's not.
You know what? I'm trying to be very diplomatic in terms of what I say, and you're right. And this is what I mentioned to Matt as well. You know, there are certain players that had a very good outing, or in terms of what the amount of game time they had last year. They're not getting that now. What does that mean for them? How are they going to address it? It's okay, everyone's saying it does, and for example, any manager's a great manager because they've got people on board. It doesn't matter where you are. Even when I was playing the little Sunday league football or Saturday league football that I was playing, if I was sub, I wasn't happy. If I was sub, I wasn't happy. If I didn't get 25 minutes while I was sub, I wasn't happy. If I didn't get picked, I wasn't happy. Doesn't matter who you know what I mean? And that's at a level where I was paid. I was paying to play.
Listen, but if you're not happy, and I get it, that's why you got to be scoring them goals, doing that work when you're not, when you get on, when you are playing the cups, you got to be doing that work. That's why I was upset for Tooney that she didn't play.
I was surprised.
I was surprised, but I see what Casey's doing, and you know, Casey's the manager. She's like she said, I get paid for this. I'm not saying that she doesn't get paid, but I get paid, so it's on my head, so I make these decisions. And it's like with the Jane Ross. She's chosen Jane Ross. She gets paid for that. She makes that decision. And if she wants to choose Jane Ross and she thinks Jane Ross is gonna do it over Jess, then that's what that's what United are paying her for. You know, we're just out here saying we want to see Jess, but it's the gaffer's choice at the end of the day.
Yeah, Casey, we want to see Jess.
No, but I'll back up. If she's saying Jane, I'll go with it. Yeah.
No, of course.
It's hard. It's hard, and it's hard when you see what Jess did last year. It's hard when, you know, Jess is our bread and butter, what we know. But then people were saying to me last year, you know, Jess is part-time in a part-time league. Let her come up to the WSL and do it. But for me, she did it versus Reading. She did it versus City very, very well. And that's another one. After that City game in the Cup, I bet she was disappointed not to play in the next game because she was on fire that day. The whole team were, and that's the performance, and that's the levels we need to go back to if we're thinking. If anyone in that squad's thinking, I want to play Champions League, well, you've shown that you can do it. So do it today against Everton, because Everton are a good side. I'm not going to sit here and say they're not a good side. I think they are good. We've beaten them twice.
Yeah.
But I think, like West Ham, people are going to say you're cocky, arrogant, but I think we should be beating Everton.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm fearful of Everton. I'm fearful of them at this moment in time, because what you have in the men's game is the men's team getting a real battering in terms of performances and morale, and you know, the Everton women are not they're not in the same ballpark. They're not in terms of their morale is nowhere near as rock bottom. They're fourth in the league. They have, in terms of goal scorers, third best goal scorer in the league. So, in terms of what needs to happen there, they're confident. So even though Man United women have beaten them previously, they'll think, that doesn't mean anything because we know where we are in the league. And worst case scenario, this is where sometimes I will say it's kind of like the Jose Mourinho thinking. If they have the attitude, if we get a point, we stay fourth. Do you understand? And it's that kind of, they will play defensive stroke counter-attacking football. And, Man United women play really good football when they're doing a high press, when they're being proactive. And, the teams that they faced, and let's be honest, it was like that when they played Spurs, are really open. They don't know what they're doing in their midfield. They've given too much space to players like Hayley Ladd, who played, for me, is like two players in one. They've given too much space to Jackie Groenen. And while those two are doing all the bits and bobs, Katie just picks the ball up and knocks it out wide to Leon. So if Everton and the Everton manager haven't done their homework, I would be very, very surprised if you see a total. Listen, there will be.
LB Universe saying to me, we can be fearful of Everton, however, they'll be a lot fearful of us.
Of course,
and I do think they will be. I mean, Matt Beard came out and said after the game, we know United are weak on set pieces. And well, to be fair, he did show it. And for me, I don't like it when that is motivation for me.
Yeah.
If that's not motivation for Casey, for all them girls, we're weak on set pieces. And he came out and said this is what we knew from before. So what are they watching that they're seeing that? That's something that I'll be drilling into him. But it's putting it in the net as well, because I think we could have been 3 or 4 up versus West Ham, and we weren't.
You got to take your chances.
Yeah, we could have been up versus City in that first game, and we weren't.
Yeah.
I don't just think it's the number 9s now. I think it's everyone.
Well, no, look, listen, right? Last season, what scored nearly 100 goals, right? Over 20 games. They've played roughly now, let me look, 8 games. So there's 12 more games to go in the league, right?
Yeah.
And they've scored 13 goals.
It's not good enough.
So not even a third of what they scored last year. And this is why I say it's really important when we talk about the long-term game, Champions League, you need a goal scorer.
Yeah.
You're not gonna win the odd one game or here or there when you score 2 or 3 goals and you don't get a response from the other team. They may come along, but when you're playing your tough games, the Chelseas, the Arsenals, I mean, Man United have got to go to Arsenal, they've got to go to Bristol, they're going to go to Birmingham. All of these teams now roughly have played nearly a half of the season in the league, so they will know what they should and shouldn't be doing, regardless. Against anyone, they should know now. Everyone should have seen enough of everyone to say, we know what their strengths are, we know what their weaknesses are, we know all of those things.
I think my guy, though, Unknown Wills again, come back. The Man United fans will be vocal and put off the Everton player. We will make the difference. But it's so funny. But listen, that game we played at this season in the Conti Cup, the first goal, if you watch it, I'm sure you've seen it, Rodney.
Yeah.
We were shouting at Kirsty, press her! And what did we do? Pressed her. Lauren got the ball 1-0.
1-0, yeah.
That was it. Their player was running towards Mary's goal because the ball went over Abby's head.
Yeah.
I've seen Abby do that a few times and a bit. This is where people will be pointing and looking and saying, boom, target Abby McManus, maybe. I'm not saying it will, but, this is where we need to be covering each other, making sure we've got each other. And if the forwards are going up and attacking, making sure that Hayley's staying back and, Katie and Jackie are on the edge of the box to stop it even coming to as far as Hayley. But, when that Everton girl ran over the top of Abby, and it was her versus Mary, but it was all the Barmy Army behind her too. I'm not saying that's what it was, but I'm sure it wasn't comfortable feeling for that happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know something?
When West Ham went ahead, the keeper looked round and was like, "Yeah," but she realised it was probably best to look forward. And people are saying this, that, and they're all about, "Oh, this isn't." It's football, Rodney.
Yeah.
It's football, and I don't think we overestimate what we bring, but it is the 12th player in an element. Because if you can put off and you can ignore and you can annoy the opposition, because even the West Ham player said we wanted to shut them up because they were so loud. And I'm thinking,
but that's football.
Fans' job to do.
That's football. That's football. That's what. To be honest, the fact that the level of the noise is at that point where the team you're playing are concerned about the noise and they want to quieten the crowd. It's obviously a new experience for those players to play in front of crowds that are more vocal. There are no Mexican waves happening in the Bamiani.
There'll never be Mexican waves happening in the Bamiani.
So there are none of those things.
Steering the ship will never ever happen. Nothing like that.
So it is the 12th man, and to be honest, fans of each team are the 12th men, and because sometimes the games are so quiet in a sense because of the number of people there, you get 10 or 20 people calling out and saying press, close down, shoot. You hear it. You hear it. It's not as if you're in thousands of people and 20 people are shouting and you can't hear because everyone else is kind of singing or whatever. So it's it's you have to kind of look at the game, look at the context, look at the number of people in the ground and thinking, well, if 20 people out of 100 people or 200 people you're gonna hear it. So to be the 12th man is a good thing, but every team now will probably think that we need our fans to be just as vocal, just as proactive, and just to be involved in the game. And so it's just one of those things that to me, as much as it upset me seeing the girls lose, and I explained this to Matt, and I said, watching the goal and the free kick, and Matt was not happy. For me, it was a very smart free kick, very cute, very
the second one or the third one.
The third one, very inventive, and sometimes you get moments where you have to think, oh, what am I going to do? Something different to bring the game our way, and that's what they did. So, lessons learned. Mary rolled the ball out, and she shouldn't have. She could have probably kicked it long, and knocked it out into. She could have knocked it out long for a throw in their half, and then have them defend, press them high.
It's not. I think it's the mentality in that, and I don't think Mary's got because Mary was telling them, Millie, push up. This was the first half that Millie, do this, break that, and I always hear Mary shouting. And so I don't think I think it's just they want to carry on playing their game, but when it was 10 minutes to go when Lauren scored that, and then they scored pretty much after. So what? You're on about 7 or 8 minutes. You don't want to come out with. I was like, come on, let's score. Come on. I don't want to come out of a draw. No, you never want to come out of a draw. But with about 7 minutes to go, just see it out then.
Yeah. Do you know what? Sometimes you can look at that time period is a really strange time period because 7 minutes is a long time when you're playing football, and it's about knowing when to press and about knowing when to play out, and it's you only get to understand it when you're playing it at the time. When you're watching it, you think, we've got loads of time to score. The players don't understand what it means when it says 7 minutes because they'll think, oh, we've got 7 minutes, and in the moment things happen a lot quicker than they do for those that are watching on the sideline. So it would have been very difficult, and let's be honest, Man United women are not the kind of team to play keep ball for 5 minutes.
I know, but they need to learn how to be them.
They're not. We've not seen them do that.
No, but I don't care, Rodney. I know it sounds silly. I would have happily, and going back to the Arsenal game, when did she score? About 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Casey and other people have said it. Lauren, in that game, she wasn't doing, but she was going in for 50-50s and the ref was calling it. So maybe that had a bit of an impact, because I was seeing things and I was like, and I mean, I ended up calling it something that probably it wasn't, but I'm sure you know what I mean, Rodney, you know what I mean? Out here. But I didn't understand why she was targeting Lauren for just Lauren being stronger than the girl.
Yeah, do you know what it is? You do get that in football sometimes in terms of physique for the men's. If you've got a player that's slightly smaller and they get a tackle from a larger player, and it's seen to be, you know, too assertive and you know, it's they do. So it's very, very difficult to kind of second guess the referee on those ones. But some of the decisions were, let's just say, questionable. What I will say is, you know, in terms of when I say that 7 minutes is a long time to the fans, but it's different when you're playing because the time moves. When you're busy, time moves in a different way. That's the bit when you think, right, we need to score another goal, and that's when I mean it's about having good ball retention. You can be, you know, all blood and guts and thunder, and we've got to get the ball down the wings, and we've got to. Sometimes you can send the ball down the wing, and then they can recycle it and come back and start again. And then we can go down the other end and recycle it. And all that does is keep possession. So everyone touches the ball and you move it around. And what you do is you kind of confuse your opponent because they're thinking.
I think we were doing a lot of that in the first half, but it wasn't coming to anything.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like I say, it's a learning curve. A learning curve. That part in itself is a learning curve.
I have sort of gone off and I've come back, but Arsenal, they scored in about the 88th minute, didn't they, or something?
Yeah, they did. It was one of those moments where you score and you just everything gets knocked out of you. That's when they scored.
Lauren was trying to do what she did versus West Ham. She just struggled a bit with it, but they were playing the ball over the top. Just keep it up there. I don't care. Yeah, you can probably hear me.
Yeah.
Lauren's goal versus Brighton last year in the cup. I was just saying, keep it in the corner, Lauren. Keep it in the corner. I don't care. Because to take a point out of Arsenal, out of that
Arsenal game,
I don't care, because I'd rather have 2 more points now that we have than what we have now, and 2 defeats.
Well, to look again.
And at the end of the day, then you would have looked back on the West Ham game and gone, bloody hell. Well, at least it wasn't like Reading, was it?
Yeah. Well, the Reading one was hard to take, but then the Arsenal one was really hard to take. So the West Ham one.
The West Ham one was the hardest I've ever taken it.
Yeah. So
the hardest. And
you know,
it's because, as you say, it's because I've seen it before. Not the Arsenal. I've seen it before with that Reading game, and we came into the third Reading game, and we had learned.
Well, look, you would say that West Ham definitely had learned. They've learned. West Ham have learned, and they have improved in terms of their personnel. They've improved in terms of their. To be honest, it makes all for a very good league. You know, it would be.
Back to what you said.
It makes for a good league.
Not the people pushing ahead. These other teams are coming up.
They're coming up, so it makes so what you need to realize in this season, it is, you know, Man United women have done well, West Ham, Everton, you know, so you're having a different feel in terms of what's expected. If you are at a particular level and you get beat by a certain team and you get thrashed, the next time you play them, that team aren't going to do it again, because you're just going to think, no, we've got a certain amount of pride, and I have gone away, or we have gone away, and we've worked on patterns of play, fitness, etc. All of those things. So it's, you know, it all makes for a really good, you know, kind of product. I don't like to use the word like that in itself for the league, but in terms of the way that the league will develop and become better and grow and be more developed and everything else.
Matt Johnson's just jumped in.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, Matt. I'm going to link him in with this unknown Wills. So Matt says, do you think we've become too predictable? Maybe West Ham has worked out what we were going to do in terms of tactics and substitutions. Then unknown Wills says, when he was a footballer, he was a lot bigger and used to get called a foul. He wants us to be a lot stronger with one-on-ones. maybe our littler players like your Jackie, like your Katie, might get pushed off a bit too easy. He didn't say that. That's me adding to it.
Yeah, well, right.
It is the same team. We do a thing called lineup league. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure everyone's seen it.
Yeah.
You can practically name it. And is that a thing? Did Beardy know who was going to play? And then he's gone, right, this is who's going to play. This is how you get out this one. This is how you get out that one.
Well, this is, you have to say that's got to be the case. When you play a fixed team, obviously when you're winning all the time, it's great because people are concerned. But if there is a slight hiccup or a slight, blip, they look to see, Rob, where did they fall down in this moment? In the Arsenal game, the ball was worked across the back line and there was a bit of a scramble and then Van der Donk poked it in. West Ham, second goal across the box, bit of a scramble, goes in. Yeah, it goes in. So you think to myself, so in terms of balls coming across the box, if they're not dealt with the first time, what they did was recycle it or made sure that it wasn't cleared the first time. In terms of Matt's question about being predictable, you could say that. I would say that the only thing that's been predictable is that, one, the goal scorers that we think are going to score aren't scoring. That's, for me, that's the predictable bit, because if Jane Ross is going to get a chance, I'm not going to think she's going to score. I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if that's confidence. I don't know if that's because, I just don't know what it is. I just think she's not going to score. We know that Lauren's going to score. She's going to have a strike on goal, but she's not going to, or so far hasn't had the full 90 minutes, or if she has, she's had the injury, or when she did have the full 90 minutes, like Spurs, she gets sent off. You know what I mean? And she was the best player, man of the match. So there has to be alternatives in terms of who's going to score your other goals. And it comes down to a very simple thing. If your striker isn't scoring goals week in, week out, your midfield have to score. Because your midfield have to bail out your striker. If your midfield aren't scoring and then your striker has a bad patch.
The wingers are scoring. That's what I will give to them. The wingers, Leah and Kirsty.
Yeah, 3 goals.
Yeah. I mean,
3. Kirsty's got 3, Lauren's got 3.
Molly was a more goal-scoring midfielder. The one who was like your Scholes, your Lampard, the one who was on the edge of the box smashing them in. And I know what you think about Molly. I know what everyone thinks about Molly. I love Molly.
You know I do.
It's when you get them chances.
Yeah, you got to take them.
Got to take them. And that's what, though, is slightly. I'm not worried fully, but Tooney took it. Tooney took her chance, and then she didn't get it back. Jess took her chance. And she didn't get it back. And I mean, coming that round to Everton and changes. Do you see maybe fullbacks being changed? I'm not saying that they should be.
No, I don't.
That's where they got us. So maybe a Lotta, maybe a Kirsty Smith coming in. What do you think?
Do you know something? What I will say is when Unknown Will said that, he got pulled up for fouls being a bigger player, and you want to see the players using more of their strength, you would never label that against Martha Harris.
No, yeah, she was good.
Ever.
Good.
Ever. When I first saw her, I thought, you can't be the right back. You can't be. And then when I watched her play, and I'm not thinking, there's no one getting past her. She proved me wrong. Literally from just looking at her, I thought, no, she can't be the right back. But then when I watched her play, I was thinking, right, okay, now I know. She was brilliant. She played. At the
same time, Alicia, I'd have thought, Alicia was a bit better. But I mean, is Chloe Kelly going to run at Martha? Maybe she didn't have any joy versus Amy Turner. I will say that.
But you've got to understand what you have are teams that are having a very particular style in terms of the formations. Everyone's playing with one up front.
Yeah.
So you play one up front and you got a back four. Your back four they're not that busy unless someone's pushing up from the midfield. At the moment, Hayley Ladd, Jackie's dealing with those. They're dealing with all of those little balls in between. What you don't want to see, or if I were an opposing manager, I would be like, right, as soon as and this is what Reading did the first time when the cup game. the balls went out to their centre backs, and they knocked diagonal balls, and they kept knocking them over to the right back and left back position. Similarly, what Man City did in the first game, because every time Steph Houghton got the ball, she tried to knock diagonals all the time, and if she wasn't finding diagonals, she was rolling it into Jill Scott, who was collecting it at her feet and turning, or at least knocking it off. So, in terms of the whether other teams have worked out the way Manchester United have played or are going to play, it's about how they set up and the personnel. Everyone knows what Leah's going to do, and to be honest, even though they know what she's going to do, they can't stop her. It's simple as that. It's like, I know she's going to hurt them. She's going to do what she does. End of. Kirsty Hansen's the same. Yeah, I'm going to get the ball. You know what I'm going to, but you're not going to stop me. Simple. It's what happens on the inside. Who in the midfield is going to get close enough to Lauren or Jane to actually add enough goal? Because you can put balls across, but if you've only got one striker,
no one's doing it. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you just said a few things there, and I just forgot. And I think they know what we're going to do, so they can't stop it. Yeah, down the wing, but
no,
it's attacking us. It's bringing us back. It's pushing Leah back. It's their fullbacks. It's their wingers that I'm worried about. I think, like you said, they were playing diagonal balls. Alicia was on it as well. City were doing it. Are they seeing? Is that what opposition are seeing? The fullbacks are the weakness. LB Universe has just said, do we have a large enough squad to be changing? And I don't think we do, to be honest.
That's a very good question.
About 24, 25, if that.
Well, no. Well, to be honest, no, we do have a large enough squad, right? It's a good question. We do. Molly.
Yeah.
Ella. Liziana. Come on. Seriously. There's that's
fullback area though. Fullback area. I'm not saying let's drop Martha. I'm not saying they've had bad games, but can you mix it up? Can you, if they're playing pacey people, Martha is a girl who come at me, run at me. You're not going to get past me, but I'm going to get past you with pace, maybe. So if Martha's halfway at the pitch and the ball over the top, is she going to make it? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying.
Well, if Martha has gone up, right? This is what you would expect. If Martha has moved up the pitch, or whether it's on the right hand side, Smith on the right hand side, you're expecting either one of your centre backs to drift over to cover, and you're expecting one of your midfield players to drop in. Do you understand? Because that's what you want to do. You cannot expect your fullbacks to bomb on and support your two wingers and then not cover them behind, because that in itself is suicide. So whoever goes forward, whether it's on the left or the right hand side, has to be smart enough to drop in. Now, we saw that in the City game when Hayley Ladd was playing almost at right back, but they were dropping in to cover the right hand side. You would still expect that to happen. But in terms of what Reading did and what Man City did, is that what they did is they tried to bypass the midfield.
Yeah, that's
all they did. They tried to buy.
West Ham did it as well.
The West Ham, but you know what that does? That tells me two things. They're concerned about Hayley Ladd, right? Because she gets there. Tells me two things. And they're concerned about Jackie. And apart from those two, how quickly they move the ball onto Leah Galton and Kirsty. And do you understand? So they've got real concerns. If they get tackled or if they lose the ball in those areas, whoever picks the ball up knows I'm going to knock it either left or I'm going to knock it right. And I've got two people out there that are going to deal with the ball. And that's why those teams are concerned in terms of why they've not, because you miss out the midfield. You want them to turn around and face their goal.
Talking about Becky now, a lot of things have said. People think the sun's shining out of her ass. People think she's not that great. People are just waiting and seeing. People think I'm one of the people who I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen that star quality. And then it's going back to what Matt was saying about the substitution. You knew once you saw Tooney on the side that Jackie was coming up.
Yeah.
And I think probably at the end, we could have done with a Jackie because she's experienced. She's probably been in these games, whereas Tooney hasn't in the way. She has with us, but it's what, 1 or 2, 3 or 4? Tooney's used to just winning.
Yeah.
Whereas Jackie's probably used to games where they've had to, right, think, stop, Mary, get it up, do this, do it this way. So, I'm not saying, oh, it's a wrong substitution because Tooney set up LJ.
Yeah.
But was Tooney at the side? I didn't really see it from where I was saying, but was Tooney asking Mary for the ball there? What,
Yeah. Well, you could say it was a bit of a mix.
Bit of
Mixed
both.
bag, bit of both, you know.
No, whereas Jackie
poor touch.
Jackie would have been like, everyone get up the pitch, move, you know.
Yeah.
And I think with Jackie, what I've seen is star quality. Whether people want to say this and that, she's not scored. Apparently, she's never really scored goals. I've seen on her Wikipedia the other day, she's played something like 80 odd games and she's got like 17 goals or something. And that's in her whole career. So Molly got that. Yeah, you know what I mean? But remember, that was in the championship.
Yeah.
And so
some players are born.
Molly is a goal. That's what I will say. If Molly's on that pitch, Molly will score goals. Whether it's against Arsenal, whether it's against this, and she's proven it because she's done it. You know?
So are you asking me about whether Jackie's good enough, or are you asking me whether?
I'm asking you about your opinion of Jackie so far and whether she should have come off versus West Ham.
To be honest, I think she could have come off, right? But she could have also been on the bench and someone else started that game. I'll say it again. Those that played in the World Cup, this has been a long season. Even with the rest, it has been a long season for them. And although some will say that, you know, that they had a rest after the World Cup, when you're playing football, your football body, your footballing brain is in a particular cycle. You know when the season starts, you know when the season ends. Yeah, it's that simple. When you have international tournaments, that's almost an additional body clock that your body has to adjust to. So it even though it may be like, oh, you can have a rest, they don't really rest.
Yeah.
They have a rest, but they know that the season's starting soon. So they can't really switch off. So they have to kind of keep ticking over. You know, the season finishes in May, they're going to rest. They're going to have a good rest and then come back for pre-season, do their pre-season. So, you know, I would say, you know, to expect her to be the goal scoring midfielder is probably an expectation too far. It's not in her repertoire. She's done it, but I'm not saying that she's been prolific at it. And if she were to be subbed again in another game, if she didn't start against Everton, you know, not that I'm saying that I'm expecting that to happen, I wouldn't be surprised, because you're getting into that kind of period in the league where, one, you don't want to lose games, but two, you need to have something up your sleeve. So if you're always making the same substitutions, which means that player comes off, why don't you start them on the bench to see how the game goes?
Yeah.
See how the game goes, and if it's getting beyond you, then bring them on.
Dave Pritch just joined, saying not to.
Hey, David.
Mary had an off day, which I do agree. Mary did have an off day, and I'm sure she'll be the first to agree, you know.
Yeah.
To move on. People were saying to me, oh, maybe it's time to change the goalkeeper. No chance. No chance. Mary is the number one. I will say it loud.
I need to get a photo with Mary, but you know I don't do photos with anyone.
All day, every day. Mary loves it as well. Loves it off. I said to her, I don't know if you've seen that little video. She goes, see you down at LSV, the last home game. And I go, you won't see me, you'll hear me. And she's like, love it. Straight up love it, right? So that's that. I've just had a question from one of mine. She's watching, but she can't.
Yeah, of course, no worries.
She just says, if you could pick a five-a-side team, I'm guessing from our girls, but I'll open it out if you want to have anyone to pick from. Who would it be?
Five-a-side team. Well, okay, a five-a-side team.
Yeah.
Who does five-a-side anyway? Tell them to behave. It's got to be seven-a-side. Who does five-a-side?
Everyone. I do five-a-side.
Yeah.
I don't know if she means from the WSL or if she means from.
If she means, yeah, can she clarify whether or not if it's WSL or is it from United Women?
What would you think then? If it's WSL, who are you saying?
Is that what she's asking me, if it's WSL?
Oh, she's
All right. She wants to know if
it's now. This is live, people. This is live. If you're gonna have your questions, you need to have them. Oh, it's saying our girls. Our girls.
She wants to know if it's our girls.
Like FIFA Street. Hey,
Right.
there's the guy as well, Christian. Harder 2021. Yes. 2021. That's the time. Anyway,
Listen,
go on.
yeah, good luck with that one. Right.
Our girls, 5-a-side. So for me, Mary, boom.
Mary's in goal.
Yeah.
Let me just get a pen. I have to write this down.
I'll give it you now, Sarah.
No. Mary's in goal, right? Hayley Ladd.
Right. Millie.
Yeah.
Hayley Ladd.
Yeah. Right.
Leah. Hayley Ladd. Leah.
Lauren's got to be in there.
Lauren. That's it. That's my 5-a-side. Leah and Lauren. Ladd. Millie. Mary. Yeah. Boom. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And you've got Leah with the pace in the wing, and then you've got LJ, who's just in the middle, just doing LJ.
Do you know something? It's really strange because you could pick. I could even change Hayley
for Jackie, maybe, or something like that.
No, well, yeah, because I could put Jackie in there because she's quite defensive in her role. It's really hard. That's why I said, how do you do 5-a-side? That's 5.
5-a-side.
If anyone is listening, with 7.
A female 5-a-side, so get it out there.
No. Tell your girl to come back with 7. 5 is ridiculous, man. Behave.
Anyway, Mary, Millie. Who did I say? Hayley or Jackie?
Yeah.
Leah, LJ. 5-a-side, baby. 5-a-side. But listen. I want to move on to something now, Rodney. You know a lot about them. I know a lot about them. The FAWSL. For me,
yeah.
When you first originally told me about them, and
yeah,
don't ruin my dream. My campaigns will happen, Rodney. And Sarah says she picked the same team as me. Well, listen, FAWSL.
Yeah.
The FA Football Coach, whatever it is.
The Football Supporters Association.
FSA. Football Supporters Association.
Yeah.
Anyone who's watching, Barmy Army are part of this now. This is what we're going to be driving, I think. But when you told me about it, you said, they'd watched our game at Spurs or whatever, or they'd watched Liverpool or City game, and they saw it a bit abusive. A minute.
Is that Ma? Hello, Mom.
You're live on YouTube.
Hello, Mom.
Hiya, right.
This is what happens when you're a live producer.
So, FWSL, we know all about them.
Yeah.
They know more about you than me, probably, but they've seen me. And they saw our game versus
Well, the basics of them is that they want to kind of bring together fans, supporters around the country, and find out what their needs are and support them in terms of how they've been treated, whether it's kickoff times, travel, etc., communication between other fan groups, particular campaigns, whether it be around tackling racism, tackling homophobia, tackling just basically any kind of ism in the game, and trying to bring forward also the issues of supporters. So it's kind of a broad church, and it's not just them. It's them. They're working under the umbrella alongside Kick It Out, which is Kick Wrestling Out of Football as well. And and they've got their. For me, when I went to they had an event in London which was really good. They were praising and awarding a number of supporters groups that were doing stuff across their leagues, across the counties in terms of where they were living, and kind of sharing their cultural experience. So that for me was really good. And you can obviously join them as part of the Barmy Army or your supporters groups. And the idea in essence is to make sure that fans who go to games actually have a voice, and also feel welcome and feel safe, and yeah, just generally kind of move the game forward, because we've seen, or you can see how football is very financially beneficial to certain companies, and in terms of when fans are involved, fans and supporters, they're the last group to be considered in terms of anything, even fixtures.
Definitely. We've had problems with fixtures.
Yeah.
Last year, this year, I know people are upset about the 12 o'clocks, but that's apparently a club thing, team thing. Okay.
Yeah.
But listen, I'm backing what they're doing. I think it's really good. I think they have similar to this in the men's game, where all the supporters sort of are looked after, and they're not looked after because the Premier League's so big, but they have a voice. The fans can get together and tell the FA. And I mean, the thing with the £30 tickets, that's through this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think it'll ever get like that in terms of pricing with the women's game, but the things like that. But there have been issues with pricing. United fans were, charge 200% more going down to Chelsea than Spurs fans just who live down the corner. So it's a bit strange.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a conversation with someone about that, and I questioned it, and they said it was the pricing, the pricing issue. The difference was to do because it was the Conti Cup and it wasn't the WSL. And I thought, okay, that's fine. But
200%, Rodney. 200%.
Yeah. Well, my comeback question was that the game in itself, that was the Conti Cup, would be played at night. It would be played at night, which would require additional heating, stroke lighting, and you would expect there to be kind of maybe a £6 ticket, but to be £3 for a Conti Cup game in the middle of the week, I'm saying that's great for those that can go. I'm saying it's great, but for the ticket that you and I paid and everyone else paid for to go and watch the team play Chelsea, it was £9. And if that's the case across the WSL, then there needs to be a kind of blanket approach in terms of what the actual ticket price is, and not according to whether you're a big club or whether you've got more fans. It's if I'm going to go on Amazon Prime and pay for a film, the film's going to be the same price if I live in London or if I live in Scotland. It's going to be the same price. So
why is it different? But listen, coming back to the FSA, and I really like what they're doing, but there's this notion of this stuff is being done in the women's game, but is it being done in the men's game? And you probably know better than me. Well, are they fighting it?
There are things that are long established, I would say. There are things that are long established in the men's game that some may find it difficult to change and to shift, modes of thinking and everything else. What you have with the women's game is you have a game that's getting more attention in terms of fans, more attention from the media, more commercial attention, and therefore the fans obviously are part of that growth, but they don't want to be left behind. So it's a really kind of crucial point where you can actually shape something.
Great point. I think I've linked in different fan groups into it. I've linked in Brighton and Bristol, and I think this is the time when we all need to be together. But I think in terms of, say, for example, let me say about that Arsenal game. We went there, we were doing our thing, the typical Barmy Army way. and we let Arsenal know we were here.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it was celebrated by the BBC. Tom Gary wrote a piece. Our Mark was the one speaking. They put a picture of me with my lot of tea, holding a songbook up. It was celebrated because this guy had never seen it. He had never seen at a women's game such passion, such fans, that he could tell that we cared, that we were kicking every ball with them girls. Like I say, the 12th player. And the backlash after that game, after that article, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. And I've spoken to Deborah, that's the name, who does this FSA, and she said, she couldn't really either. She didn't understand because at the same time, you can't tell people how to support. The one thing she did say is things like people feel like they not own, but let's say own, because that's the only word I can think of at the minute. Like Jordan Nobbs, she's like a national treasure, and it's great. It's great. I'm glad that this girl is doing so well, but not everyone is going to think Jordan Nobbs is their favorite player. And I think that's what people need to sort of realize now, that there are people who are coming into this game and their favorite player isn't going to be the same, isn't going to be the status quo.
Yeah.
And this now that Sam Kerr's been voted the number one, and I'm seeing all these people, like we just said, oh, it should be Myanmar. And I'm thinking, who cares, mate? You know, it's not Myanmar, so get over it, move on. Oh, Rapinoe's the Ballon d'Or. And I see more with that one, why they're upset because she's not played in the game. But Sam Kerr and Miedema, it's like apples and pears. You can see they've both been picked. You know, maybe Lucy Bronze should have been more high. But there's not, I can't look at Sam Kerr and Miedema and say, this is why it was Sam Kerr, or this is why it should have been Miedema. They're both scoring goals.
Yeah.
The World Cup, they both scored goals, but both of them didn't set the world alight there, did they? That's why Rapinoe got the Ballon d'Or. So,
to be honest, a lot of people. I mean, I like Megan Rapinoe. Obviously, I like Miedema and I like Sam Kerr. You know, you follow the football and you like goal scorers. For Megan Rapinoe, she's bigger than the sport in itself. She's bigger than women's football. She's an icon. She's out there. She's speaking on behalf of a number of different issues. And some people don't like the fact that she speaks up. They would probably prefer her to be very quiet. And some have said, you know, you don't hear Messi and Ronaldo say what they do. You know, you don't. But that doesn't mean that they can't or they couldn't. You know, they choose not to. So that's down to them. You know, so this was her. To be honest, Megan Rapinoe winning the Ballon d'Or after a year of winning the World Cup at 34. You know, what's the problem? You know, it's not the end of the world. We watched Messi win it 6 times in a row, and he didn't even have the best year last year, but he still won it. So, you know, there are going to be those kind of conversations and debates and those points of view. And in terms of what you said about the fans were saying that, you know, they own it. You know, in terms of what I would say is, you've got to put it like, imagine if you were going to the cinema and it was a premiere and you queued up and you queued for an hour and then someone came along and said, I got tickets for that, and then walked straight. That's pretty much what it is.
What it's like. And you have to just accept it. Maybe they bought advance tickets.
Yeah.
And this thing, there's this kind of status quo. And when you go against it, you feel the heat, let's say.
Yeah, well, you know, everything's.
I know that's the case. That will always be the case. But people just, like you say, need to move on, need to grow with the time. And it's like we've said in it now, people are knowing that's how that Man United travel like this. We need to do this to try and negate that.
Yeah.
And if that's like Chelsea did, trying to block us, they might do it that way. Or like West Ham did, trying to sing a few songs.
Yeah.
That's the way I want to see it. I want to see back and forth. Why wouldn't I want to see it? Why wouldn't I want to see it at all the grounds that we go to? I think we'll see it more at away games because people know that, right, you know, I'm going to have to defend my girl, you know, vocal, I'm going to have to do this because they're going to do it. So you're going to see more of that. I've had fans come up to me going, oh, when United come, what do you, like it's this big, when the Barmy Army, oh, and what's going to happen? And I'm thinking, you what? Oh, where do you hang? And I'm just like, what is this myth that has been portrayed? What do you think it is? You're sitting here chatting to me normally, but then you're scared of the Barmy Army. I don't understand. But
bit of singing.
A bit of singing, yeah. And every game I go to anyway, I'm singing. So it's just me singing with more people when it's United.
Yeah, gosh. Oh,
yeah. But Rodney, we've been
Yeah.
doing this, really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
What-
it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah.
You know what I will say, because obviously I can see the time. We talked for a long time. I'm slightly, obviously, for me, the issue of getting up from London to watch the girls on a Sunday is, you know, I've got things that I need to do, so I can't always make it. So I will plan to be up there in the new year. But this game this weekend is one that I really wanted to go and see. So I'm not going to be able to see that. So I'll be watching on the player and checking in with what's happening in terms of a prediction. You want to win, but you just never know. You just never know. If I say 2-1, I've probably mentioned. I actually probably said 2-0 already. I think I said to Matt 2-0. So I'm now saying 2-1. The closer it gets, probably Sunday I'll say 2-2.
No. Well, I think United bounce back. These girls bounce back. So I think, you know, they might score Everton. They're on a good run. Good for them. But I think 3-1 United me.
Yeah, I see the comment from LB Universe saying, a great show, guys. You need to do this more often. Well done.
No, I am planning to do it. I am planning to do a weekly podcast live. Not always with Rodney. Rodney's always welcome on, though. But I am planning to do a weekly thing.
Don't worry. We all are. So it's all good stuff.
So let's see what happens. Thanks, guys. Rodney. You know, we're looking at this from Manchester to Lee. So that what happens. I won't expect to see your face on it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
See you later. Thanks a lot.
Take care.